I think they've both come to the conclusion that whoever wins Wisconsin is going to be president.
Former President Trump and Vice President Harris are both in Milwaukee hosting dueling rallies tonight. Early voting in Wisconsin and Sunday, and the candidates are pushing people to get to the polls.
Liviana Calmes is in Milwaukee right now. Liviana, how has the turnout been so far there?
Terrence, Sylvia, it's been steady according to the Wisconsin Election Commission. They've been surprised at how many people have been voting early. And in fact, it's about 40% more than this time in the 2020 election, which both candidates this time around have been pushing for.
Democrats always lead in the early part, and the Republicans like to go there on Tuesday, and I understand that you want to see your ballot go into a box. We're going to get it all changed, but we're doing really well.
If you are voting by mail, please do not wait. Sign the envelope and return your ballot as soon as possible. We have just 5 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and we have work to do.
Harris has a slim lead over Trump in Wisconsin, according to a recent Marquette University poll. In a head-to-head mashup, she's at 50% of likely voters, Trump at 49%. That's within the margin of error. And tonight, Trump and Harris rallies are just within 7 miles of each other in Wisconsin's biggest county. And this may be the last time the candidates are in the swing state of Wisconsin, so there's a lot of pressure coming down to tonight. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Liviana Calmes, Fox 32, Chicago.
Thank you, Liviano. As we inch closer to Election Day, the list of celebrity endorsements continues to grow. Over the last couple of months, some of the biggest names in sports and Hollywood have announced their backing of either Harris or Trump. But can these stars really impact this election?
Former network news correspondent and journalist in residence at DePaul University, Chris Burree, joins us now to discuss a lot of people questioning, do these even make a difference? Talk about, do they have an effect on younger people?
Well, this election is so close that the campaigns are hoping that they can make a difference. The academic evidence for that is pretty slim. Harvard University, the Kennedy School of Government, did a study on this, just came out in August, and it found that there was no direct evidence of celebrities turning one election, but they did find out that celebrities can and do have an impact on turnout. And the best example of that is Taylor Swift, who is the biggest celebrity in the world. In 2018, when she put out a single social media post, and she has something like 300 million followers around the world, she put out a single social media post in 2018, and YouGov, .org, which is an organization that registers voters, said that one social media post caused 65,000 new people to register that day. So if you have a megastar like a Taylor Swift, it could certainly get people to the polls.
Well, that's very interesting, though, Chris, that you say that it gets people to the polls, but it doesn't necessarily, as far as we know, have a direct impact on who they're voting for. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we don't have definitive evidence that one celebrity or another has tipped an election. But I think what's really clear in this election is that celebrities are appealing to certain elements of the voting. We had LeBron James, a huge basketball star. That's certainly going to appeal to a young audience. For Kamala Harris, we had Donald Trump with Hulk Hogan, and you just showed a picture of Brett Favre, the former Green Bay quarterback. That could make a difference with men in a place like Wisconsin. So both of these candidates are loading up on endorsements, entertainers, singers, athletes, even business people. We've got Elon Musk campaigning and spending a lot of money on Trump. And of course, on the other side, we have business stars, including Mark Cuban of Shark Tank fame, who are campaigning for Harris. So, both sides have their celebrities. I would say probably in terms of just celebrity wattage, Harris probably has more going for her.
So it's one thing to gain a celebrity's endorsement. It's another thing, I would imagine, to lose a celebrity's endorsement as well. I know Trump lost his endorsement from Nicky Jam, a music artist, this week after the comments were made at that rally about Puerto Rico. Any studies on that, losing an endorsement during the race?
No, but it's interesting that some celebrities have switched parties over the course of their careers. Frank Sinatra is a great example. Frank Sinatra was a buddy of JFK, and he campaigned for JFK in 1960. By 1980, Frank Sinatra was going for Ronald Reagan. Sammy Davis Jr. from the Rat Pack also was a Kennedy supporter in 1960. And by 1968 and 72, he was backing Richard Nixon. So we've seen celebrities kind of move all over the place, but there isn't hard evidence that one endorsement or another is going to move the needle. But in terms of getting people to the votes, reaching certain kinds of voters, young, obviously Taylor Swift with young women, somebody, like Arnold Schwarzenegger with an older group, all of these things can make a difference around the margins in a race this close. And we know we've never seen a race this close in our lifetimes.
Right. Okay, Chris Bury, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your perspective. Good to see you.